Realme launched the Realme X2 in India today, and the X2 is basically the Realme XT but with beefier internals. So I thought this is as good a time as any to revisit our comparison with the Redmi Note 8 Pro and see if anything has changed since then. Hey guys, Ash here from C4 Retech, and if you do end up liking what you see here, please don't forget to turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get this video started. Okay, so let's begin with the internals, since that's the major change with the X2. We now have the more powerful Snapdragon 730G inside, and if you look at the benchmark results, it's a closer matchup to the Helio G90T on the Note 8 Pro. While the 730G has slightly better CPU numbers, the G90T does better with a GPU. In fact, we can clearly see the dominance of the higher clock Cryo 470 cores with the Geekbench cores. In real life though, I didn't feel any major difference while using the two devices. That's thanks to the optimization of both ColorOS as well as MIUI and the powerful chips underneath. Everything here felt buttery smooth. When it comes to memory, both phones can go up to 8 gigs of RAM, so multitasking, it didn't pose an issue. On the storage side of things, we have up to 128 gigs of UFS 2.1 storage with dedicated microSD support on both phones. So not much difference there. Coming to the gaming side of things, both these chips, the 730G and the G90T, they both have G in them, right? And that G stands for gaming. So since they are gaming focused chips, it was no surprise that popular titles like Call of Duty Mobile or PUBG, these phones managed to run them without a hitch. In order to push the hardware to its limits, we did try Shadowgun Legends on Ultra, and there we saw some micro stutters and screen tearing with the Adreno 618 GPU on the Realme X2. The Mali G76MC4 does fare better here, and the gameplay remains smooth in our testing. So when it comes to performance, I feel the Note 8 Pro has a bit of an edge. And here's finally a day where a Mediatek chip is outperforming a Qualcomm chip with regards to the GPU. Never thought I'd see this day come, but hey, it's here. Now another change, it comes in the form of battery life. Well, kind of. Now, the battery size itself remains unchanged. We still have a 4000 mAh battery on both the X2, just like with the XT, but the CPU has changed, right? The SoC has changed. Instead of the 10nm Snapdragon 712, we now get the 8nm Snapdragon 730G. So the X2 doesn't just have a more powerful chipset, but it also has a more power efficient one. The G90T on the Note 8 Pro, on the other hand, it's built on the older 12nm manufacturing process, and it's not quite as power efficient, but Redmi does counter that, does make up for it with a higher capacity 4500 mAh battery. So when it comes to battery life, they're more or less on par despite different battery capacities. When it comes to charging though, it's a whole different story. The Note 8 Pro comes with an included 18-watt fast charger. There's support for Quick Charge 3 there, but we have support for VOOC Flash Charge 4.0 technology on the X2. This means it uses the included 30-watt charger to go from 0 to 67 in just half an hour. Now that's insanely fast. That's much faster than what the Note 8 Pro can offer. So despite the added burden of having to carry around a proprietary charger, I feel the Realme, it has an edge in this round with regards to battery. Now with cameras, the hardware remains unchanged from the XT, but given that it's been a while since we did that comparison, let's revisit it, see if the software has changed anything, if the processing has changed, if updates have made a difference here. Let's start with the primary, the 64 megapixel ISOCELL GW1 sensor from Samsung. It's the same sensor on both phones. Here under good light, the Note 8 Pro still retains the edge. Most of the times the pictures on the Redmi, they're sharper. Like we noticed earlier, the Redmi still opts for a warmer color tone. Not much has changed. The pictures from the Note 8 Pro, they still seem brighter and vibrant. Now under low light, there are dedicated low light modes. The Note 8 Pro, it continues to pull ahead. It's got more detail and it also produces brighter pictures. This is all thanks to the processing. Now remember, both have the same sensor, right? And the X2 actually has the advantage because the lens on the X2, it has the wider aperture, f1.8 compared to f1.9 on the Note 8 Pro. But then again, the Note 8 Pro actually ends up performing better. Now, moving on to the next one, 8 megapixel f2.2 wide angle on both the phones. Things are pretty much on par. Sometimes the Note 8 Pro comes out ahead with a brighter image, at other times it's the X2. Detail levels, dynamic range, they're pretty similar across the board. Now, as far as portrait goes, last time we complained that the processing for the portrait mode on the XT was way too aggressive. It almost looked like a beauty filter was on. But with the X2, that has been rectified. In fact, we have better photos with the X2. While the images shot by the Note 8 Pro, they seem a little over-sharpened. No complaints with the edge detection here. As far as macro goes, I like the Note 8 Pro a little better, even though both sensors are only 2 megapixels. The Note 8 Pro somehow manages to capture a bit more detail along with a brighter image. The Note 8 Pro also gets skin tones better with its 20 megapixel selfie snapper. But the 16 megapixel selfie camera on the X2, it does pretty well too. The 8 Pro has a tendency to overexpose the background a bit at times. Now with selfie portraits, the 8 Pro does allow us to adjust the background blur. That's a definite plus. Now moving on to the video side of things, 4K 30 FPS is the max on both phones. There is no stabilization at this resolution. The warmer color tones of the Note 8 Pro and the cooler ones on the X2, it's quite apparent here. Moving the resolution down to 1080 produces much more stable footage since EIS kicks in at this resolution. We also have an ultra steady mode for the Realme X2 that eliminates all shake from the video, but the footage is also noticeably less detailed and cropped in. Speaking of special video modes, the X2 also comes with support for portrait video. Now this is a feature that's been reserved for flagships till recently, so it's a nice little touch to see it on a mid-ranger. We also get EIS for the front camera, so if you want to use the X2 as a vlogging camera, hey, you can do that now. You'll get pretty stable footage. On the other hand, Redmi lets us shoot videos with a wide-angle camera, which is something you can do on the X2 as well, but you can also shoot video with the macro camera on the Redmi, something you can't with the X2. So ultimately, when it comes to cameras, both phones do well. The Note 8 Pro has an edge here with still photography, but when it comes to videos, it's the X2 all the way. Now the rest of it, the screen, the battery life and all the sundries, they are exactly the same as we saw in our XT versus Note 8 Pro comparison. But here's a quick little refresher, a quick rundown if I might say so. The build, we have Gorilla Glass 5 toting glass sandwich designs on both phones. The gradient backs, they look equally attractive to me. Now both these phones sport 6+ inch displays, so neither is really suited for single-handed usage. That said, the X2 does have the smaller footprint. It's also a good 20 grams lighter thanks to the smaller battery. On the flip side, the Note 8 Pro comes with a water-resistant P2I coating, and the SIM tray also has a rubber grommet running around it for better protection against the elements. At the end of the day, it comes down to your personal preference. A sleeker, more minimalistic phone, or one that's slightly bulkier but more feature-rich. This is exactly what I said in my last video, the XT versus Note 8 Pro, and I left a poll for you guys there. And guess what you chose? 53% of you ended up choosing the Note 8 Pro, so it seems like a pretty even split. So I'm gonna leave another poll here. Let's see if you've changed your minds. Now the similar design trend continues even when you turn the phones around. Up front, both devices sport Full HD Plus displays with tiny bezels surrounding it and water drop notches up top. At 6.53 inches, the Note 8 Pro is slightly bigger than the 6.4-inch Realme X2, but there is a difference. The Note 8 Pro has an IPS LCD panel, while the X2 sports an AMOLED panel. In my humble opinion, AMOLED offers punchier colors, deeper blacks, hence also better contrast, and I prefer it. Now don't get me wrong, the Note 8 Pro has a great display, but when it comes to a head-on-head battle, if I had to choose between the two, I'm going to choose the AMOLED's colors over the IPS LCD. So I'd go X2 here. However, if you feel differently, I'm not going to hold it against you. You can end up choosing the larger display here. Go with the Note 8 Pro. Of course, thanks to this AMOLED panel, the X2 can also go with an in-display fingerprint scanner. Generally, capacitive scanners like the ones on the Note 8 Pro, they're faster than the in-display implementations, but Realme has done a great job. The difference here is just a split second. So There's also the convenience factor at play. The fingerprint scanner on the Note 8 Pro is a little too high up. It's not a huge con, it just takes a bit of getting used to. I did have to stretch my fingers a little to reach it. The in-display scanner to the front is much more comfortable to use. We also have face unlock on both devices and they worked well. Wrapping up the rest of the sundries, we have an IR blaster on the Note 8 Pro. IR blasters have become somewhat rare in modern devices these days, but they are quite handy to have. Do note that neither phone has NFC on board, they're Indian variants at least. And when it comes to audio, the Note 8 Pro has the louder speaker, but the sound output from the X2 is much cleaner. Add to that Dolby Atmos support through the loudspeaker as well as the 3.5mm headphone jack, and it's a clean sweep for the X2 here. So when it comes to sundries, the X2 edges ahead again. One more thing we gotta take a look at before the end of this video is the software. The Note 8 Pro is running on MIUI 10 while the X2 is on ColorOS 6.1, both built on top of Android 9 Pie. I've done in-depth videos on both these interfaces, so I'm not gonna go over them again, especially since both these phones are gonna receive updates in the near future. The Note 8 Pro is gonna go to MIUI 11 on top of Android 10, and the X2 to ColorOS 7 or even possibly Realme OS. So software remains pretty much what we've seen. Both phones are pretty good and get whatever that's needed to be done with little to no issues. Let's now talk about the pricing. The Note 8 Pro starts at 15,000 rupees and I expect the X2 to come in at around 16,000-17,000. As of shooting this video, I don't have the official pricing, but once I get word of it, I will update the description and also pin a comment. What we do know for sure is that the X2 is gonna cost a little more. So what does spending a bit more get you? Well, there's the AMOLED display, lots of cool new video features, faster charging, a bunch of nice to haves like better audio and an in-display fingerprint scanner and so on. On the other hand, the Note 8 Pro offers a higher capacity battery, gaming performance that's a tad better, an edge with both the build and still photography. So which one to choose here depends on which of these feature sets you value more. If you are on a tight budget, strictly 15,000 rupees, and the AMOLED panel, the faster charging and everything that the X2 offers doesn't feel important to you, you should probably go with the Note 8 Pro. It would serve you well. It's a great phone. But if what Realme offers, everything that we've seen so far, if you feel that's worth the extra asking price, then the X2 should be your pick. So which one of these would you choose? Let me know in the comments below. And that's pretty much it for this video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.